And welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. As you can see, I'm now joined by our special guest. It's Brandon Cooper from Badger Notes After Dark podcast from the Big Banter Network. And Brandon is a frozen pizza connoisseur. So we're definitely going to talk about that tonight. Two big guys. We love our
Hey.
pizza. So we're gonna definitely chat about that. And being from the fact that you're from the land of cheese, I mean, you probably have a leg up in this conversation when it comes to
Oh, yeah.
pizza, I'm saying. So let's dive in by talking a little bit about the big game this Saturday night on NBC between the team you cover in Wisconsin, the team that I cover in Ohio State. This is a big one for both teams. Now, Ohio State's coming in with this with a lot of momentum, Brandon. They are undefeated, big win over Penn State. You guys have had a couple games where it was close, but no cigar, but yet first year under former Buckeye Luke Fickell, and this is one game, Brandon, that before the season started, we had it circled, highlighted. This was one game we were worried about. We don't do well when we go into Madison. The last 3 times we were there, we have a loss, and we have 2 games where we won by 7 points.
Yep.
So you break this down from a Wisconsin perspective. Where are the Badgers at mentally getting ready for this football game?
Well, probably coming off the biggest win of the season for the Badgers last week against Illinois with a backup quarterback, scoring 18 unanswered in the fourth quarter to really keep our hopes alive in the Big Ten West, especially with Iowa losing on what was an absolute garbage call. That's not a fair catch, but that could be another discussion for another time. So emotions were riding high after last week. After the week before that, we got absolutely embarrassed by Iowa. And I think it was like depression across the whole state of Wisconsin. Morale was real low. And then you go, like I said, you go back to last week, huge win, big guy touchdown for the win too. I can
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, right.
I love big guys, dude. Love to see an offensive tackle score the game-winning touchdown. So then we're riding at an all-time high coming into Ohio State week. And that's where I have to really just check my expectations of this Badger team. What I've watched all season, it's been a lot of up and down, below expectations for the Badgers at the beginning of the season, just considering like the coaching change and kind of the new style we're playing and everything. But Ohio State's just better. They're 14 and a half points favorites, and I'm probably gonna throw a recreational wager on Ohio State to cover in this game.
Really? Would it
Yeah.
surprise you, Brandon, if I told you that my prediction's 28-20, Ohio State only by 8?
No, I guess it wouldn't surprise me. Like you said, Ohio State tends to kind of struggle up
Mm-hmm.
at Camp Randall, but our offense, I don't know. Like Braden Locke, our new quarterback, played really well against
Yeah,
Illinois last week.
he looked good in that
Yeah,
that in second half, man. He showed some moxie.
yeah, he had some throw. He had one down the left sideline to
Oh,
Skylar Bell at the end of the game.
that was on the nose, man. It was
Absolute double
beautiful.
cheeker. Yeah, beautiful throw. I was screaming in my apartment running around when you made that throw. So you know it's like, oh, he's got the arm talent to do that. Illinois' defense is good. They're not Ohio State. And especially, I thought Penn State was the second best team in the Big Ten this whole season. I thought Ohio State was maybe a little overrated. Well, they shut me up real fucking quick last week. Because that was an 8-point game, but if you watched it, that was not an 8-point game.
No, it wasn't.
That was a boat racing that Penn State was able just to keep close enough.
Our defense is really, really good.
Yeah, that's what scares me.
It's our offense it seems like it takes them a quarter and a half to wake up, and then they finally realize they got Marvin Harrison Jr. on their
Yeah.
team. And it's like, just give them the football, like wherever. I was telling my wife was watching the game with me and my co-host Chris. I was like, our offense is literally right now, where's Marvin Harrison giving them football? And if he's
Not a bad
one-on-one,
problem to have.
right? And if he's one-on-one, what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
I could not. I was laughing at Penn State trying to guard him one-on-one. I was like, you guys are just
I couldn't
killing
believe it.
yourself. Yeah.
No, and that's what worries me about the Badgers. You said Ohio State starts out slow this year. The Badgers start out slow. Definition of a second half team. Like down or up 7 at the half against Georgia Southern, and I think they ended up winning by like 21. Down a couple scores against Wazoo in a game they lost, and they ended up coming back and making it a one possession game at the end of the game. Same with Buffalo. I forget the score that at halftime. We might have been up by like 7, and we won 38-17. And even last week, 18 unanswered points in the fourth quarter against Illinois, and 14 of those were in the last 8 minutes of the game. So that's what really worries me is how slow Wisconsin starts and how good Ohio State's defense is. And then the Badgers defense is it's pretty good. It's not like in the last decade with like Jim Leonard, Dave Aranda. Those
Hmm.
defenses like, oh, we played Wisconsin this week. We got a problem. They got a bunch of NFL guys on the defense. Well, that's not the case this year. Unfortunately, it's kind of tough to watch as a Badger fan, but hey, it is what it is. But back to Marvin Harrison, that's what scares me. Like we have Rico Hallman,
Yeah,
our top corner, probably an NFL guy, very good player.
yeah.
I just don't. I like you said. Why would you even trust anyone against Marvin Harrison Jr. 1-on-1? So I don't trust him against Harrison Jr. 1-on-1. I hope I'm wrong.
Sounds like we're going to get a Emeka Egbuka back as well,
Yep.
which Carnell Tate, who played as a freshman last week, he's a 5-star freshman. He's coming along nicely and giving us that insurance that we need. Not that we needed a whole lot more out of that room. That room is absolutely
Yeah.
sick. But our running game this year has been a head scratcher, and that is not the case with you guys. We know
No.
what we're going to see. What do you think Luke Fickell's approach will be offensively attacking this Ohio State defense? Is it going to be a traditional run? Is he trying to spread things out more? Like what are we looking at for the Ohio State fans who've not got to see Wisconsin play yet this year?
A lot of short passing, which you ask a lot of coaches, that's basically just a run. So however you want to decipher that, that's up to you. But a lot of short passes, way too many swing passes to Braylon Allen. Every Wisconsin fan goes nuts over that. It's maddening. But yeah, it's more of a spread concept. A lot quicker tempo. If you haven't watched Wisconsin play this year and you've been watching the last decade, you're going to think it's a whole different sport that we're playing. It's it's wild. But still, we're spreading them out. And Braylon Allen, I think he ran the ball like 28 times last game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't help. Ches Malusi, our backup running back, broke his leg
Yeah.
earlier in the season. And then Tanner Mordecai, who's actually the third leading rusher on the team, broke his hand 2 weeks ago. So it's Braylon Allen or bust. And he's been a little banged up lately. So we'll see. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But a lot more passing than teams are used to. And then I said it on our show the other day, just with the backup quarterback, Braden Locke. Like to me, in a game like this, what do you have to lose, man? You're the backup quarterback. No one expects anything from you except to be like, oh, hey, maybe he's the guy next year.
Right.
Go out there and let that like fucking
Yeah.
sling the ball around and see what happens, man. You're playing
Let it
Ohio State.
fly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Ohio State's defense is so good. I have trouble like wrapping my head around how we're going to move the ball this game. But I said the same thing last weekend. Braden Locke moved the ball pretty well, and Braylon Allen had almost 150 rushing yards. So
Mm-hmm.
if we want to beat Ohio State, Allen needs to have close to 150 rushing yards again. To me, that's the only way.
So going into the season, when I was interviewing another Wisconsin podcast before you guys really got up and running, they were telling me I needed to pump the brakes on this Badger team. I had you guys going 10-2, winning the West,
Yeah, yeah.
and
They were right.
yeah, they said, hey, you need to and maybe some of it was the fact that I looked at the West as so um
Garbage.
bipolar, maybe is the word for it. Yeah, it's so just like I don't even want to use the word even because it's
It's just
for
bad. It's bad. I'll tell you.
oh,
I'll say it for you.
all right,
It's
thank
bad.
you.
It's
So
embarrassing.
so I still think Wisconsin, despite what happens this weekend, can still win the West because Iowa literally has no offense. Brian
No.
Ferentz is holding that entire fan base hostage, in my opinion.
It's the
Um,
funniest thing to me ever.
as a Wisconsin fan, it's
The
got to be
funniest
right.
thing. Especially that like before they lost last week, they could have theoretically made the playoff without scoring over 25 points a game, which is the number in his contract, or else his
Yeah,
dad has to fire him. It's hilarious. I
it
love
is
it.
bad. It's bad. Yeah, I bet you do as a Wisconsin fan. I love it. I'm a Ohio State fan. I don't like Iowa for some reason. I don't like their fans.
Hate him.
Anyways, I've never had any interaction with Minnesota fans, so I'm interested in how that
Yeah,
goes.
don't.
You just tell me straight up, don't.
No.
um, so let's talk a little bit about Luke Fickle, because he's definitely, I would say, the cog that is um, holding the Wisconsin program and the Ohio State program in close regards. Um, so I don't know if you knew this or not, but Luke Fickle is somebody who I don't know him personally, but I know people who know him who are very close to him, and I know them personally because I'm related to them because they played together in Ohio State's at Ohio State. And I know for a fact that when Urban Meyer was going to step down, Gene Smith, the athletic director at Ohio State, never even gave Luke Fickle a phone call.
Which is crazy.
He was at Ohio. He was at Cincinnati, and when Luke left Ohio State as the defensive coordinator to go be the head coach at Cincinnati, he did so under the pretense that one day he would come back as
Yeah.
the head coach at Ohio State because they told him he didn't have any head coaching experience. Right? He needed to get head coaching experience.
And then
So
he took a team to a
he goes
playoff.
he goes down I-71 Cincinnati, which we don't even acknowledge here in Columbus. Like we call them Northern Kentucky, right? And he takes them to the CFP the year we don't even go, and he gets all that coaching experience, and then Urban Meyer has his little head problem, steps down, and Gene Smith goes with Ryan Day, who had zero head coaching experience, and that ticked Luke Fickle off. And he was waiting for the right job to come back to the Big Ten. Could have went to Michigan State, said that's not the right one.
Yeah,
When
thankfully he didn't go there.
when yeah, right. When Wisconsin opened up, he jumped on it, and immediately here in Columbus, Ohio, we all went, "Uh oh,
Yeah.
we know what this guy has. Like we know what he can do. He takes 3-star recruits and makes them NFL draftees.
Yeah. They
That's what
had
he
like
does."
7 draft picks on that team that went to the playoff, I think.
Yeah,
Something crazy like that for Cincinnati.
yeah, exactly. And he did that. That he was notorious of going to Urban Meyer and being like, "I want this guy," and Urban goes, "He's not good enough recruiting." He goes, "Oh yes, is. Trust me." And Urban would be like, "Fine, you can have one," and he would
Yeah.
take that guy and become an All Big Ten, second team All American, get drafted in the NFL, and he was a 3-star out of Central Ohio, right?
Yep.
So we know what the guy can do. What does the fan base at Wisconsin right now think of Luke Fickle?
I mean, I think we're all still all in on Fickle in this program. It's just like you said, the expectations were just too high at the beginning of the season. And it's because we've been dealing with the same thing since I've been alive, basically, at Wisconsin football, aside from like a couple Barry Alvarez Rose Bowls and a couple other big bowl wins. Like we win 9 games, 8 to 10 games usually as Wisconsin, have some stupid loss, can never really beat Michigan and Ohio State, except that little run Michigan had when they blew. But like we were just used to, it's the same thing. Like we had plateaued. So it's like, oh, now we got, not that he's younger, but kind of a new generation of like coach coming to Wisconsin. We hired Phil Longo as offensive coordinator, completely changed our offense. All the success he had at Cincinnati, like a lot of fans, and I even got caught up in a little bit like myself. What do? It's easy. You get caught up in the hype, and it's like, oh man, we might win like 9 games. Badgers 75-1 before the season to make the playoffs. May have sprinkled some money on that I regret, but no, we're still all in on Fickle. The biggest thing is, and you could see it after week 1. It's like, ooh, this system doesn't work without his guys. Like you can win games, you can beat teams you're supposed to beat, but you can clearly tell there's players who stayed at Wisconsin who should have entered the transfer portal.
Right.
And one of them too, that's the biggest surprise to me, is our left tackle Jack Nelson. Was like a second round, third round graded guy coming into this year, like NFL prospect, needed a big year, may have kicked the right tackle in the league, but anywho, NFL prospect.
Sure.
Well, the season he's having this year, he might not get drafted.
Wow.
It's been bad. Every game, there's 2 or 3 big plays we have, or 2 or 3 just killer penalties that he has, and I think it's the system, like a spread. He's just not a spread offense kind of tackle.
Yeah, he's
So
more
that's the
used.
biggest problem.
Yeah, so it's funny. You mentioned that, you bring that up, and tell me if I'm right, but it sounds like to me that these guys are really good run blockers, and they're having to learn how to pass block better.
Yeah.
And at Ohio State, we're the exact opposite. Like we pass block really really well because I think that's literally what Ryan Day works on 75-80% of the time is passing plays. And then when it comes to running the football, we get no push and we do this zone blocking thing and if the running back doesn't hit the right hole, it's a 2-yard loss and it's like what are we doing?
Yeah.
And it's almost the exact opposite of what you guys sounds like you guys are dealing with. And so half the time we're like just throw the stupid football. Like it's, come on, it's what we're good at. But that's funny. That's really interesting there. So okay, let's talk about this next year, no divisions, right? So I think you guys got a very good chance to win the West. We'll say it shakes out because after us, you got like Nebraska, Indiana, Northwestern, and then
And then
Minnesota. If I'm right,
Minnesota.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Minnesota might be a decent game,
That's
but I
always a
think
tough game. I don't care if they're defeated. That's always going to be a tough game.
the other three games you should walk through, in my opinion,
Yeah.
literally. So yeah, so you're looking at probably 9-3 record. Do you think that's good? I mean, and then what would that be? 8-2? No, not 7-2.
Yeah.
Then 7-2 or something like that, or eight. Yeah. Um,
We need Iowa to lose again
you need
if we
Iowa to
lose this
lose
game.
again.
Yeah. And they have a pretty easy schedule, I think, the rest of this season, too. So,
Uh,
not great.
okay. All right. I was just curious what you guys were thinking there, but
Hey,
all right.
after last week, though, I got all the hope I need. A couple plays go our way, and you never know.
I
It
mean,
was like,
if
I
a
forget
team
what
can,
year
if
it
a
was.
team can score the football, they're gonna beat them. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. But I forget what year it was. I believe Ohio State was ranked number one when David Gilreath returned a kickoff for a touchdown to open the game. And it was up in Camp Randall, like 06, 08 maybe. And Wisconsin was like number 17 at the time. But Gilreath takes the opening kickoff for a touchdown. And you're like, that's what we needed right there. That's what we needed. We're in this game. So if something like that happens early in the game for Wisconsin, special teams touchdown, like a defensive touchdown, or Ohio State, someone you never want to see anyone get injured, but say Marvin Harrison has to leave the game. That helps us. I'm not gonna lie, that just is what it
right.
is. But you never want to see it. I love Marvin Harrison. He's awesome. I think he's the best player in the country. But something like that needs to happen if we want to win this game. I said on our podcast, the first one we did, it was like a just futures and kind of going over the schedule. I was like, the only way Wisconsin wins this game is if Marvin Harrison Jr. has like pneumonia or something. We can't. He might go for 200 yards. I just unless we triple team the guy.
Yeah. So he's on a pretty good streak right now.
103 games, I think.
Uh-huh.
He had
And
like a buck 60 last week.
yeah, he broke a record last week for most receiving yards, most um, most times with 160 or more receiving yards in a game,
Jesus Christ.
which was literally held by David Boston. That's going back. David
Wow,
Boston. He
what
broke,
a name.
broke that record. We've had a really good string of wide receivers.
I think that's putting it lightly.
You go Michael Thomas,
Chris Olave,
Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson the last couple
Smith and
years.
Jigba, like he started out slow his first year, but still.
Yeah, he had a really good sophomore campaign, then got hurt against Notre Dame, was out for basically the rest of the year last year. I'm trying to think
I
after
mean,
Michael Thomas, there was the
Terrell
guy at
Pryor had a
Washington.
thousand yards receiving in the NFL. Let's just throw that out there.
There you go. There you go. That's right. And he never caught one pass at Ohio State.
No,
Braxton Miller. I mean,
got a lot of
gosh,
tattoos at Ohio State though.
yes, for free. Yeah, for free. That got Jim Tressel fired.
You sure did.
So but speaking of Jim Tressel, we were talking on our show that during Tressel's years, which was basically 2000 to 2010, Wisconsin was our biggest rival. That was the
Yeah.
game, man. That was the game. And then
Yep.
Urban's rival was Michigan State. D'Antonio
Yeah.
D'Antonio got him a couple times. And then um and then currently right now we're on a 9-game winning streak against you guys, two of which were in the Big 10 championship. Um, what is there a mental block, a mental hurdle there with you guys in Ohio State? What's up with that? Is it just talent and that's what
I
it
think
is?
it's just I think it's speed,
Yeah.
yeah, talent and speed on the outside. We've never had the speed to cover Ohio State skill players. Never. And every time we go to play them in like the Big Ten championship, that's the same thing. It's like, well, if we can somehow stop the skill players, we got a chance. But yeah, to me, it's I guess you could call it talent, but just pure speed and athleticism. We just don't have it. And hopefully, Fickle in a year or two, we do have that, or we're just more physical than everyone. You got to be one or the other, and right now we're neither. So,
I believe I write an article every week for Scarlet and Game, and one of the categories that I write where it's called my confidence level, and I grade 5 different categories, and I put 1 through 10 on my confidence level, and whatever that total is, I double it, and that's like a percentage. So I'll be like, hey, this week I'm at an 82% that we win this football game type of thing. And the X factor this week that I'm going to write about is the atmosphere in Camp Randall. I think that's the X factor for this football game for
well,
Ohio State fans who've never been there. What is it like on a Saturday night?
at the stadium or outside the stadium?
Both. I mean, you tell me. Like the atmosphere of this game is big and
Oh, yeah,
massive.
the atmosphere of this game's going to be massive. To say Camp Randall's been a tough place to go play the past few seasons would be a massive overstatement.
Mm.
The student section, even for basketball, just it's been lacking the past couple years unless there's a huge game like this. So I think the stadium will be rocking a little bit, but not. It's not like you're going to the big house or anything. Like you don't have to worry about something like that. The atmosphere outside of Camp Randall all day, night game, Wisconsin. There's going to be so many drunk people. It's going to be ridiculous. I'd love to see the number of arrests before the game.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a massive party, and everyone's going to be, all up on their high horse, thinking we're going to beat Ohio State, and then the game's going to start at 6:30, and we'll see. I think it might go a little south, but yeah, the atmosphere around the game is going to be rocking. In the game, air can get taken out of that stadium real quick.
Yeah. That's 6:30 Central Standard Time for all of you who
Yeah,
are watching here in Ohio.
I always
7:30
forget.
Eastern Standard Time.
I always forget Ohio. Like me and time zones, man. Me and Alec from the
Penn
Rutgers
State.
podcast. Yeah,
Oh,
we were
okay,
trying
yeah.
to get something going, and he was like, "Hey, could you do like noon today?" It was like a Friday, and I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll just work from home for the second half of the day." And so it's like 11, and he was like, "Hey, man, ready to hop on whenever." It's like, "Yeah, man, I'll be on at noon." What the fuck you talking about? And then he's like, "Yeah, I got to hop on and do this other show, but like I can." He's like, "We can do something like 1:15 p.m." I was like, 1:15 p.m. What is he talking about? It's like 11:30. And I was like, "Oh, he's on the East Coast."
Yeah, he's over there in New Jersey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always forget Ohio too. So yeah,
Yeah,
7:30 Eastern
yeah,
time, 6:30 Central Standard Time, the best time zone in the
yeah.
nation.
Over there at the Indiana Illinois line, there's somewhere over there it
Yep.
breaks. But anyways, enough about the game. Let's talk about the real subject here: frozen pizzas.
Love them.
All right, buddy. So I want you to give me your rankings here, and tell me, is there anything in the Wisconsin area that is unique to you guys that we wouldn't have here in Ohio?
Anything unique? There's so many. Like we have Woodman's. I doubt you guys have Woodman's grocery store.
Never heard of that. Yeah,
Yep.
no.
I think it's like a Wisconsin, Minnesota thing, mainly Wisconsin. But there's literally 4 aisles of frozen pizza at this
Wow.
grocery store. We don't fuck around here when it comes to frozen pizzas. All right, winter, summer, and fall, spring. Those aren't really seasons here, I guess. Fall, kinda, but every season we got frozen pizzas for you. One that I don't know, unique. I feel like it's kind of popular. Those like lots of matzo. Do you guys have those down there?
No, that's unique to me as well.
Those are pretty big up here. A meals. That's a big like bar pizza
Mm-hmm.
up here. Um, Other than that, it's kind of just like smaller things like brew house, like pub frozen pizzas, kind of little niche things. My rankings, though, it's funny because we were on the Illini cast last week, and I forget who it was. I think it's Austin was his name. I'm
Mm-hmm.
terrible with names, but he asked me what my favorite frozen pizza was. First person to ask me that, so I was kind of stoked. My favorite frozen pizza, though, it's a brand called Bellatoria, and it's a
Oh, I've
bread.
heard of that.
Yeah, It's a breadcrumb, artesian, thin crust, sausage, and uncured pepperoni. You throw a little Italian seasoning on that bad boy, some crushed red pepper flakes, throw in the oven. I like to throw them about 400, 415 for 20 minutes. I like it a little crispy. Whew, baby. I might make one after this. I got one in the freezer.
There you go.
But
Got you going.
that's number one. Number two, frischetta. You ever heard of the
Yes,
frischetta? Yeah.
uh-huh.
Big frischetta. They got a 5 cheese, kind of like square pizza. Love me some frischetta. Another one, Emil's, the breakfast pizza for Emil's.
Mm,
Yeah, very good. Or the ultimate pork. I think it's the ultimate porker, like meat wagon. Just a name when you read it as a big fella, you're like, yep, that's up my alley.
uh-huh.
So love me some meals. Um, God, I'm trying to think what else after that I've been eating. Like in a pinch, like something like a DiGiorno is not bad. Like I don't mind that. Like we were kind of talking before, like a Red Baron. I'll
Mhm.
mess around with some Red Baron. I will never cook a Jack's in my oven. Jackson garbage. Jackson Orves. You ever heard of Orves?
I've not heard of Orbs, but we Jacks. There's a lot of Jacks here, and the Krogers here in Columbus.
It's
Yeah,
a disgrace to
unfortunately.
society. I wouldn't feed it to my dog. But Orves is even worse, Eric. It's like 10 for 10 at Woodman's for like full frozen pizzas. 10 for
Uh-huh.
10. That's how you know it's bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
That's less than the 3-minute Kroger brand pizza that you can get and
yeah.
pop in the microwave. Oh man, that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's not good. What about you? What is your frozen
Um,
pizza
I'm a
preference?
big I'm a big Tostitos guy. I really am. I like the little squared pepperonis. I don't know why.
I love those. Yep.
Those just hit me right when on a frozen pizza. I'm good a good DiGiorno. What about I think it's called California Wood Fire or something like
Never
that.
had it. I've seen it, never tried it. I need to
The
dabble.
if you do go with make sure you get the thin crust
I'm a thin
and
crust guy. Yeah.
yeah. And I like just their plain pepperoni and then I like to put on that one my own toppings.
Oh, I
So
love doing that. I love spicing up a frozen pizza.
yeah.
I'll get real wild. I'll get like some fucking gabagool from the grocery store, some jardiniere, throw some of that on my frozen pizza, a little
You're
sausage,
you're
pepperoni.
you're making it like yeah, like a what do they call those anyways, I can't think of the word when it's like where the chefs like really dazzles them up,
Yeah, like chef's
makes them
choice. It's off
yeah.
the menu item, if
There
you
you
will.
go.
But
Yeah,
I
there you go.
love spicing up a frozen pizza.
Do you guys have a Donato's? Or is that
No,
okay, so Donato's is a Columbus thing then.
not that I've heard of at least.
Yeah. So check out Donato's. It's Columbus's pizza. People in Columbus will either love it or they hate it.
Okay.
There's no in between. And there are people who used to live here when they come back, the very thing they want is a Donato's pizza. So, like for instance, Mike Wargo, who is like the Rudy of Ohio State, who comes on our show, good friend of mine, and he lives in Pittsburgh, and he came back this weekend for
Shout out
the
Pittsburgh.
Penn State game. Yeah, and he you ever do you've been to Pittsburgh?
I go
Obviously, so
2, 3 times a year.
have you ever ate at Mike's Beer Bar across from PNC Park?
Yes, I have.
Those
Delicious food.
steak on a stone.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal in
Dude,
there.
one of the best meals I've ever had. Yeah.
There you go. Everybody, I'm like Pittsburgh. We live 3.5 hours from Pittsburgh. We will drive to Pittsburgh to eat there
Yeah.
for dinner. It's that good. Anyways, he said, "Hey, when I get back to Columbus, I've got to go get a Donato's pizza." And I was so it's like it's one of those things. You either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
But check that out. That's kind of like Columbus's thing. It's Columbus is more of a thin crust pizza town,
Yeah. Love me a thin crust.
and they cut in squares.
Hey, I was just about to ask you, are you a triangles or a squares guy?
So being from Columbus, I'm a squares guy.
Thank you.
That's how we
That's
roll.
how adults eat pizza.
Agree or disagree? Chicago deep crust is terrible.
It's garbage. I think most people from Chicago would agree that
Thank you.
deep dish is the worst.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
What about New York?
Oh,
What about New York style? Fold
I
it on the
love
plate.
I love me in New York style.
Okay.
I like it because it's just cheap. I mean, I've only been in New York like once that I can remember. A
Hmm.
couple times when I was way too young. But yeah, like it's cheap. I like it. A little greasy. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. There's a pizza
Um,
place down the road from my office called Brooklyn's, and the guy's authentically from Brooklyn, and you buy it
Ooh.
by the slice. And I'm like, that's how you know it's authentic if you can get it
Get
by
it
the
by the
slice.
slice, exactly. Yeah, not a lot of places do that, but yeah,
Yeah.
you get like a real Italian joint or something like that. Yeah, someone from Brooklyn, you're buying it by the slice, and even if it's like a $5 slice, and you could tell it's like, okay, these people kind of they know it looks like they know what they're doing. A real traditional pizza place, I'll pay $5 for a slice, no problem.
There you go, man. Hey, Brad, tell everybody where they can find the Badger Notes After Dark.
The Badger Notes After Dark. You can find us on mainly YouTube. I think that's where we get most of our viewers. But YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And then you can find all of us on Twitter for extra musings about the Badgers or just anything about random life. And usually I'll get a couple highlights in me or highlights in me. I can tweet some wild shit. So not a bad
There,
follow every now and
there you go, man. And I'll definitely
then.
jump on there, Brandon, start following you. That sounds like a lot of fun. We can start to chat about how terrible some pizza is. Um, well,
I do have a quick fun fact though.
yeah,
You
hit
know
me.
why they started cutting pizza into squares, right?
No, I don't. Tell me, help me out.
The Great Depression. So you could feed more people. Everyone could get like a slice. Yeah.
Brilliant, dude.
There you go. We're bringing history. We're bringing football. We're bringing beers, Pittsburgh restaurants. We got it all on this
Yeah,
podcast.
you know. Well, that's well. When if you ever get the chance to podcast with the Purdue guys, the joke is that we literally when I get on there, it goes off the rails. You know, Purdue Boilermaker trains off the rails. Anyways, they're a lot of fun too. And like when Dylan and I podcast, we might talk about football.
Yeah.
But mostly it's something else. But I could see if you Brandon and Dylan and I got together, that podcast it might break things. We might have to big banter might have to like sue us or something. But
Right? Yeah.
hey, you do
Don't.
know that Barstool Sports does a pizza thing, and
Yeah. I've
if big
seen.
banter gets there, you've definitely got to head that up, brother.
I'll be the frozen pizza guy. Yeah.
There you
Not a.
go.
I'll try. Like I said, we got like 4 aisles of frozen pizzas at the grocery store I go to. I'll try every goddamn one of them.
You'll be having all the other podcasts sending you their frozen pizzas in the
Right?
mail so you can rank them from other regions of the Big Ten, and then when USC and UCLA join, it's gonna be like, really, guys,
Yeah.
you should try this avocado toast
Oh
pizza.
god. Gluten free. Fuck that. I'm eating a frozen pizza. I want some gluten in my life.
Oh my gosh, this has been hilarious, guys. Hey, what's your score? What's your score for Saturday?
Well, I do like the over, which is 43 and a half.
I got the over as well.
I think Ohio State wins by 3 scores. Ugh. I'll go 43-20 OSU.
Wow. Okay. Lots of points, a lot more than I think there's going to be. All right, sounds good. Brandon, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on, Mr. Cooper. We will do this again very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Had a great time.
Yep. Have fun at the game Saturday. Enjoy the game.
Oh, we will. Maybe.